Evelyn arrives at the ministry office just as the bells of Atheros echo through the glass and steel corridors. She passes the marble statue of progress in the atrium, weaving through clusters of clerks clutching ledgers and data tablets. At her desk, the morning sunlight slants over an immaculate stack of forms. She glances up, expecting to see Edmund's familiar silhouette greeting her with a wry nod, but his desk is empty, his chair precisely tucked in. Her brow furrows. The air carries a faint scent of burnt coffee and mechanical oil, the usual hum of the pneumatic tubes punctuated by the distant hiss of the steam conduits. Evelyn hesitates, then checks her inbox. No message or note from Edmund. Instead, she finds a slip of parchment in his precise, looping script. Heart, trust the margins. E. She turns the note over, searching for meaning, but it offers no explanation. Evelyn decides to leave a message on his blotter, pen poised as she writes, "Meet before midday. Urgent forms." She glances back at Edmund's desk, unsettled by his absence, before moving into the day's flow. As she organises her files, the pneumatic tube at her station hisses. She pulls a sealed envelope, a summons from HR. Her hand tightens around the note as she stands, feeling the world tilt beneath her feet. With brisk, measured steps, Evelyn crosses the ministry's tiled corridors, heart thumping beneath her pressed blouse. She's ushered into the director's office, a chamber walled with heavy books, brass fixtures glinting in the sombre gloom. Around the table, senior clerks and department heads sit in tense silence, eyes flickering to Evelyn as she enters. The director, voice measured and grave, announces Edmund's death, an incident during his commute home, circumstances unusual and still under review. The words land like stone. Evelyn's vision swims, but she schools her face, hands folded tightly in her lap. She catches the director's sympathetic glance, but refuses to let tears breach her composure. The meeting moves on in muted tones, protocols for notification, counselling, reassignment of duties. Evelyn hears herself being offered time off, but she demurs, insisting she can help however needed. As the meeting ends, her manager quietly gestures for her to follow. The director's office empties, leaving Evelyn momentarily alone in the hush, the weight of shock pressing down, the details of Edmund's fate repeating in her mind. She stands, smoothing her skirt, and steps into the corridor where her manager waits. In the shadowed corridor outside the director's office, Evelyn faces her manager, who speaks in low, urgent tones. The manager hands her a sealed dossier, Edmund's accounts, estate, all files requiring closure. The envelope is stamped with the ministry's crimson seal, a slip of restricted access, permits tucked inside. "Discretion is vital, Evelyn," the manager whispers, glancing over their shoulder. "There are sensitivities. You must be thorough, but quiet." Evelyn feels the weight of expectation and the threat beneath the words. She nods, accepting the dossier, her pulse quickening. The manager's eyes linger on her, searching for any sign of hesitation. Evelyn straightens, assures them she understands, and slips the envelope into her satchel. As the manager departs, the corridor's lamps flicker, casting long shadows. Evelyn draws a slow breath, bracing herself. She pivots and walks briskly toward the records office, the dossier's sharp corner digging into her palm, a reminder that she is now the keeper of Edmund's legacy, and whatever secrets it may hold. Evelyn enters the records office, its shelves stretching wall to wall, lined with leather-bound ledgers and battered metal file boxes. The muffled ticking of a mechanical clock echoes overhead, She unlocks a brass cabinet with her permit, removing Edmund's files. Sinking into a desk by the window, she begins methodically reviewing the documents, cross-referencing ledgers with monthly account statements. At first, the numbers make sense, until she uncovers a series of missing receipts and gaps in the transaction logs. A closer look reveals several large, unexplained transfers to accounts she doesn't recognise, the notations beside them in Edmund's distinct but hurried scrawl. Evelyn frowns, flipping through the files, and discreetly slides the irregular documents into her own folder, activating the small copier hidden in her satchel. The soft whir of the device is masked by the clatter of record clerks in the corridor. Evelyn catalogues the anomalies, glancing up as the afternoon light fades. The deeper she looks, the more the numbers resist explanation, and a growing sense of unease settles over her. She requests access to Edmund's personal archive, heart pounding as she realises she may be glimpsing something she was never meant to see. Evelyn continues her audit, pulling additional ledgers from the shelf, marked with Edmund's initials. She flips through the well-worn pages, noting hurried shorthand and cryptic symbols wedged in the margins. Codes she's never seen before. One page stands out, a block of symbols beneath the phrase Project Lantern, with a date circled 2 weeks hence. Evelyn's mind races. She recognises some of the shorthand as Edmund's personal cipher, reserved for only the most sensitive matters. Carefully, she transcribes each symbol, number, and annotation into her notebook, her hand trembling. She cross-references the figures with transaction logs, finding more discrepancies. The room feels colder, the mechanical clock now impossibly loud. Just as she finishes, a shadow falls across the desk. Evelyn glances up to see a colleague approaching, their expression tight. They ask to speak privately, their tone urgent and hushed. Evelyn gathers her notebook and copies, heart hammering, and follows them out of the file room. In the narrow hallway outside the records office, Evelyn's colleague, Mara, leans in, voice barely above a whisper. She glances nervously up and down the corridor before speaking. "You should leave this alone, Evelyn. Others have poked into old accounts and disappeared. Edmund was warned. More than once." Evelyn searches Mara's face, seeing genuine fear behind her eyes. Despite the chill of dread spreading through her, Evelyn squares her shoulders. "I have to know what happened," she replies, voice steady. Mara shakes her head, urgency in her eyes. "You don't understand how far this goes. You won't be safe." Evelyn hesitates, the weight of the decision pressing down. She finally nods, not in agreement, but in acknowledgement. Her path is set. The corridor is silent except for the distant hum of the archives. Mara slips away, leaving Evelyn alone, with the knowledge that pursuing the truth will be dangerous, but necessary. After hours, the finance department is nearly deserted, the echo of her footsteps magnified by polished stone floors. Evelyn sits at a side terminal, the blue glow of the screen illuminating her face as she enters the restricted data vault. She traces the suspicious funds from Edmund's accounts, her fingers flying as she navigates through layers of encrypted ledgers. Each transfer ends at a dead end. Shell companies, blank addresses, and false names. Frustrated, Evelyn digs deeper, bypassing official channels and using tools Edmund once showed her. Suddenly, she finds a payment routed through a shell entity that, when cross-referenced, shows faint ties to the Ministry of Treasure itself. The implications chill her. She prints out the transaction tree, careful to use her own paper and hide the evidence in her satchel. As she logs out, she senses the faintest prickle, like being watched, alone in the silence. Evelyn gathers her things, files new requests for deeper archive access, and slips away into the night, the city's lights glittering beyond the tall windows. Returning to the ministry's records wing, Evelyn finds the restricted section's door, now secured with a new lock, and above it, a small surveillance camera, its cold lens aimed directly at the threshold. She hesitates, scanning her surroundings, then ducks into a side alcove, watching as a janitor passes, pushing a cart stacked with cleaning supplies. Evelyn tests the lock discreetly. Her access card no longer works. She checks her pending document request on the terminal, only to find them all marked as denied or delayed, no reason given. Unease prickles at the back of her neck. She circles the archive, noting the new security measures, a sign her investigation has triggered alarms. Determined, she resolves to return after hours, when the hall's empty and eyes turn away. As she slips out, she glances once more at the blinking red light of the camera, realization dawning that she's no longer invisible. She disappears into the warren of corridors, preparing for a covert return. Night deepens as Evelyn slips into the university library. Its grand arches and shadowed stacks, a sanctuary for the city's insomniacs and scholars. She pores over thick tomes and ancient scrolls, comparing the symbols from Edmund's notes to references in obscure church doctrine. Candlelight flickers on the page as she traces the code to a passage on sanctified experimentation, a doctrine only whispered about, never spoken in open halls. She consults an old friend on the night staff, who, after some coaxing, confirms that the Ministry of Treasure has, in rare cases, collaborated with the Church of Scientific Discovery on classified projects. Project Lantern is mentioned in a footnote, linked to both institutions and shrouded in secrecy. Evelyn copies the relevant passages, her mind racing with the implications. This is bigger than a single clerk's corruption. She gathers her notes and rushes out, determined to secure the original evidence before anyone else can erase it. Evelyn hurries through the empty ministry corridors, clutching her notebook and keys. She slips into Edmund's private archive, only to find the door ajar and the air inside thick with the scent of scorched paper. Desks are overturned, cabinet drawers yanked open, and file boxes spilled across the floor. The faint glow of a lamp reveals chaos. Someone has ransacked the office in haste. Heart pounding, Evelyn searches desperately for any remaining documents, rifling through the mess. She discovers a folder half hidden beneath a toppled chair, its edges charred. Inside, the pages are partially burned but legible in fragments. Transaction logs, lists of names, references to Project Lantern. The realization hits. Whoever raided the archive was minutes ahead of her. She notes fresh footprints in the ash and a faint, lingering warmth in the room. Suddenly, a floorboard creaks in the corridor outside. Evelyn freezes, clutching the scorched folder, and quietly extinguishes the lamp. She listens as muffled voices and hurried footsteps approach, forcing her to make a split-second decision. Evelyn's breath catches as she hears two distinct voices draw closer, urgency in their clipped whispers. She darts silently across the room, slipping into a cramped supply closet. Through the thin slats of the door, she glimpses two figures, faces obscured by low hats, searching the archive, cursing the lack of remaining evidence. One mutters, "She was here. Find her." Evelyn shrinks into the shadows, barely daring to breathe as the intruders search, footsteps echoing against the stone floor. After several tense minutes, the footsteps recede and the voices fade down the corridor. Evelyn waits until silence returns, then emerges, shaken but unharmed. She clutches the folder to her chest, heart racing, and slips out the archive's back entrance. As she moves through the deserted halls, she recalls overhearing her name on the lips of the intruders, a chilling confirmation that she is now a target. She steps into the pre-dawn gloom, more determined but acutely aware of the danger. Dawn glimmers faintly through the curtains of Evelyn's small apartment as she sits at her desk, the battered folder spread before her. She carefully peels apart the scorched pages, deciphering what she can. A partial list of names, references to transfers, and fragments linking the ministry and the church. Her hands tremble as she realises the names might be other targets or conspirators. The severity of her situation settles around her. She is alone, pursued, and in possession of secrets, powerful enough to end careers or lives. Fear gnaws at her, but resolve steels her spine. She pins the fragmented documents to a corkboard, drawing lines between names, dates, and accounts. Each connection sharpens her purpose. As the city outside stirs to life, Evelyn's eyes burn with fatigue, but she is unwavering. She knows her next step. Reach out to the only person she trusts to help her unravel the truth. She locks the evidence away, checks the door, and sits in the dawn-lit silence, committed at last to exposing whatever Edmund died to protect.